Welcome, everybody, to the Wellness Founders Podcast, where we explore the business of wellness and the people creating the future of well-being. Super stoked to have my buddy Tony on. And Tony, you're a wellness entrepreneur, a coach, a community leader down in Tulum, Mexico, very close to where I lived for about 4 years in Playa del Carmen. I got introduced to you through a great friend of mine, Rob, who I had on the very first episode of Wellness Founders. And I've been to Tulum a bunch of times. I've never lived there. I imagine it's a different world when you're living there. But you also created Wrshpyrslf, a wellness brand that's dedicated to helping individuals commit to themselves, physical, mental, spiritual strength, fitness, nutrition, mindset work, all the good stuff. And you're building Run Tulum, and you've been building Run Tulum for a while, Run Club in Tulum that's absolutely crushing it. I've seen a bunch of awesome brand collabs. You guys just moved into an office, which must be a big deal. Yeah. And I'm excited to cover all those things. But first and foremost, man, thank you so much for coming on and welcome.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you having me, Jordan. It's great to connect and see the exciting stuff you're doing as well. So thank you.
Yeah, man. Lots of stuff in common. I had to wear my Run Club shirt for Medellin here just to, pull things full circle here. And before we get into like strategy around how you're building Run Tulum and kind of the ethos of what you guys have created there, I'm curious of like your journey first arriving to Tulum. So I'd read you sold a lot of things, moved to Mexico. Like, take me through the process of just when you got there, why Tulum? Like, what was going through your mind at that stage of your life?
Yeah, it was not the best time for me. So I kind of like was forced into shutting my businesses down. I was an entrepreneur back in Cleveland, and I was just super burnt out. I was tired of the rat race. I was tired of living this American dream that wasn't fulfilling. And when I saw the writing on the wall for my company, I was like, I'm getting out of town. I'm getting out of America and I'm going to paradise. I need better weather. I need to be healthy again. I need to restructure, refocus. And so for like 10 months, I moved pre-COVID. So September of 2019, I moved. I spent 10 months basically doing nothing except recharging, reading classic novels on the beach, working out for an hour or two, running the beach, drinking good lattes, and then eating a good dinner, going to bed. And so through that whole process, moving to a different country and everything was just very good for a reset.
Nice, man. And then take me through, you arrive, you're getting settled in this new paradise of a home. And what inspires you to start creating community there in the way that you've done it?
Yeah, creating community kind of happened by accident. Actually, I moved here and intentionally didn't talk to anybody for the first 6 months. I didn't know anybody. I didn't really want to be in public. I was just kind of like focused on my health and recharging. And people started seeing me on the beach. We had a free gym here at the time, and I could work out on the beach, and I was just running the beach. And so I kind of became known as this crazy person that was just keeping to himself, working out. And a guy that I had met, started asking me to train him. And I just kept telling him, no, I'm not a trainer. I don't want to do this. I don't have any interest in helping out. And then I needed money because I was broke and I was living basically out of a backpack on a 1980s bicycle in the middle of Mexico with nothing. And so I was like, yeah, I need some money. I'll start training you. And then one client turned into building a gym, which turned into classes that had 4 to 6 people. And then, 100 clients that are coming, periodically 3 times a week. And then I started Run Tulum during COVID. And it was only like 5 of us. It wasn't even a club. When the streets were shut down, we literally just met to run. And I was like, this is a cool brand. I'm going to get it. And maybe when people run in Tulum, they can tag us. Well, when we came back, I spent 4 years here. We spent a year back in Florida. And then we came back and realized that the community was in dire need of some energy. And a bunch of my clients came back and I said, let's restart Run Club. And that was in January of this year. And we had 10 people. And now we're, pushing almost 200 twice a week. So I think it's good timing. It's us being super consistent, but Tulum was really just like needing consistency in community. And so, yeah, I didn't set out to do it, but it's needed. And so that's kind of what we've been doing it for.
And was there like a mindset shift that you had to have going from this guy that like doesn't want to talk to anybody to now I'm leading 200 people twice a week? Because it sounds like that's a pretty dramatic swing.
It is. And I think a lot of it is meeting my wife. So I met my wife on my first holiday back to the States. So January of 20. And then I knew almost right away that she was going to be my wife. We got married in 21. And so we were doing all of this together. When we left the first time and came back, we just realized the importance of having the community and how important it was to us individually. Like I knew that it was important to everybody else, but what I thought was wanting to be secluded and like live off grid was not actually the case in reality. I thought I wanted it, but I really needed the community. And so we did it for them, but we did it for ourselves. And it's been really life-giving in that regard.
Yeah, and what I've noticed as a theme throughout the conversations with any of these community builders is it always starts with the personal need, and the sustainability of it is really dependent on the internal motivation of like, this is fulfilling for me to do. Because if that's not there and everything is just for the external world, you'll burn out pretty quick, like trying to give energy that you don't have. So
For sure. And I learned it the hard way too, the first time around.
yeah, and that was that when you're building the gym, or how did,
No, like
I'm curious.
back in
Oh,
Cleveland.
okay, got it. So
Yeah.
tell me about building the gym originally, because that part is interesting to me of like building a gym was that gym in Cleveland or was that gym in Mexico?
No, it was in Mexico.
Yeah.
And so one day I'm like, dude, no gyms exist that I like. I don't want like a traditional air conditioned gym. I also want a gym that has some equipment, and I like it like hardcore industrial, and like I want to like lift concrete and flip tires and do cool shit. And so we found a space that was like a few $100 a month. And so it was actually an old church, and they were meeting on cinder blocks. They had like a half palapa and like shitty grass and some cinder blocks. And I'm like, I want that space. I'm going to turn this into a gym. And like I said, I had no money, so we would like put a slab of concrete down and then have some clients, and then buy a few weights, and then put more concrete down, and then put more stuff on the walls, and find tires. And we would doing stuff like I was getting kegs, empty kegs to do lifts, and just really creative stuff. And then we just turned it into a really cool gym that people wanted to be a part of because even at that time the community was building.
Yeah, and what were the lessons you learned from that process? Because I imagine like dealing with the politics of building a gym in Mexico. I mean, I've lived in Mexico before. You're probably dealing with the government. You're probably dealing with the city. You're probably dealing with, obviously a landlord if you're renting it. What was that process like? What'd you learn from that?
Yeah, starting the gym wasn't as hard because we were kind of underground. So we didn't really publicize it. It was more of like a private, you have to know us to be invited. And the landlord was the pastor. So it was actually uh, not your normal, typical Mexican agreement. But as we've grown, we obviously have to do more in synergy with the government and the police. Ironically, the police now support us and they come out for our runs and protect us. But plenty of other stories of people working with the cities in Mexico and not having the most pleasant time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I've experienced some of that myself, but
Yeah, I imagine.
yeah, it can be interesting to be in Colombia. It's actually not been much of an issue, which has been great. Um, So I'm curious, you go from like starting this underground gym, you're bootstrapping, you're putting one layer of concrete down at a time, you're finding kegs, you're getting creative. How does it go from that to like, okay, now we have a community like that's here consistently. Was it a thought of like, let's branch off into this run club now and support? There's kind of a symbiosis between the two, I imagine, where you got people in the run club, you got people in the gym, there's probably some crossover. But what was your connection between the two, or how did they interrelate?
I think it was just the reason for Run Club existing is to give my clients and our community just another avenue to stay fit. And I'm always trying to do stuff that's not about making money, just trying to keep people active. We put pull-up bars around town, for example. And so the Run Club is just another avenue. Like, yo, you guys need to be working out more. You're trying to get in better shape. Here's a Run Club on Wednesdays. Let's do it together and let's have one more activity together. And then the thing that I've noticed the most for me and our community is what's different about us is that we're super committed and consistent. Most people, especially in Tulum, it's very transient. People come and go. People say they're going to start running, and then 3 weeks in, they decide that they want to go to Mexico City for the weekend. But like, we haven't missed 9.5 months, 54 runs in a row. Like, we are super consistent, and we're going to be there. And I think people appreciate that.
Yeah, there's something to be said about consistency, especially in community, and that's been the truth for us as well as being in this for we're getting closer to like a year and a half now, and rain or shine,
Hmm.
whatever it is, unless they close down the ciclovia, which has happened a few times, or, we took a break for, Christmas, I think. But other than that, yeah, the consistency of people going and knowing that there's going to be people there and there's going to be people leading it, like that's huge. And I think for us, I guess the way we imagine it is probably the way you imagine it. If you just had a few people that came and showed up and there was no one there, that one experience is enough for them to not come back ever again and
For
to also
sure.
tell other people. So I'm curious, when you were first starting it, was it like super intentional that it's like consistency is our number one thing, or did you have that's just a natural part of your being? Like,
Hmm.
how did it all start?
Yeah, consistency has always been intentional and primary for me. I'm super disciplined as a person. That's how I've done everything with my businesses and definitely with my fitness. And so, prioritizing the consistency, like even in the classes, people knew like I don't cancel class. I'm never late to class. You can't come late. You can't cancel. Like in a transient community where people are flowy and doing all these things spiritually, like I'm the one thing that I'm going to beat your ass and I'm going to force you to do your thing. I need to be on time. And so that just kind of transferred over into Run Club.
It's such a powerful lesson of discipline for leaders is, however it is that you're embodied in your leadership, how you lead your life, your state of being will be the reflection of the community. And the interesting cultural part, like you said, is, you're in a Latin American country where typically the culture is a little bit softer, is a little bit more, um,
Hmm.
let's just say, less time dependent, or I don't know how you'd frame it, but you're literally going against a cultural norm to be in maybe that extreme state of accountability. Did you feel like there's been resistance to that within the community, or do you feel like people just like enroll into that super fast? They love to see it, they love to be part of it.
Yeah, I think with the culture and just people not wanting to be held accountable, there's always been pushback, especially with the classes. And so I'm consistently having to get on people's asses and find ways to punish them if if they're not on time, or I used to lock the doors, or take away cell phones, things like that. But I think from a Run Club perspective, people have really enjoyed having the community so much that they're all in on the consistency.
And what's your line there? Because I find that for me, it's an interesting paradox because I have a very similar mindset to you of like consistency, being on time. And then there's like an underlying understanding that not everybody has the same like I can't
Hmm.
realistically, I can't have the same expectations for everybody as I have for me because they're so high, and
Yeah.
it's almost unfair. So where is there a line that you have to draw, or is there a part of you that you have to reflect on and that you're mirrored at times where it's like, okay, this is maybe something I need to let go on. This is something I can like. Have you had that happen to you at all?
Yeah, that's a good question because I think my wife helps me with this because I'm generally speaking pretty hardcore and I'm not empathetic a lot of the time, and I try to hold everybody to the same standard, which is almost impossible. But it ebbs and flows. Some days I'm feeling empathetic or I'm understanding that somebody's not feeling well, or um, whatever, they had a hard week. But it's a fine line. I think that I think just continuously showing up is impactful, and like being the person that they watch consistently do the thing. So I speak more with my actions than my words. And then they also see the consistency, and that allows me to have the freedom to then verbalize that. But it
Yeah.
definitely ebbs and flows for sure.
It's the modeling, right? If you're able to model it yourself and embody it, then people can choose to enroll in that, or maybe it's not right for them, right? Maybe that's if that's not the level of accountability that they're going to be willing to undergo, then it's maybe not a community for them. I think it's a good
For
way to
sure.
like to attract the right people and then disqualify people that aren't into it.
Yeah, I said that from day one, at least with my classes, like this is not for everybody and it's not meant to be. I want to find the people that want this, and I'm going to give them all my attention. And if you don't fit, like, thanks for coming, but this isn't for you. Run Club's a little bit different because we want everybody at every level to be involved, and we want to support everybody being active. So it's a little bit different there. I'm way less hard. It's not competitive. We call it paradise pace. I really want everybody to feel included. So that's a different conversation.
Yeah, we call it sexy pace.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah. We got the 3K run is sexy pace, 5K is just 5K. So that's
Just 5K.
yeah, just 5K.
Yeah.
So let's go back to you're reinitiating the run club earlier this year,
Mhm.
and you're deciding that we're going to commit to this, bringing this back. What was that initial thought process of what do I need to do to start bringing people in to start growing this, and then I want to go through like the milestones throughout the process.
Yeah, yeah. So bringing Run Club back was a little bit more intentional, I think, than people realize because we spent 2024, most of 2024 in Tampa. And we didn't like it at all, but we went to all the different run clubs. And I'm old, so I wasn't even privy to the fact that there were run clubs. And then I learned from all the Gen Zers what run clubs were and how to video myself running and things like that. But I also learned all the things that I didn't like because we never went to a run club that really felt like home, and we just felt like we weren't comfortable there. So when we started Run Tulum, we did the opposite. Everybody's invited. It's less of a dating community and more of like couples and just it's just different vibes. I can't explain it, but it was very intentional from the beginning that we can grow this thing to be, a massive opportunity for a community here in Tulum where people support each other. So I just, like I said, back to the consistency. I showed up with 10 people the first time. I remember like the third run, I was like, this is going to be 100 people soon. And some of the guys that were visiting laughed at me. And we had the benefit of it being high season. It was like, late January here, which is part of high season. And so once we had people start coming, they all brought a friend, and another person brought me, they kept bringing more friends. And then we were at 100 within, I think, 4 months, something like that.
That's awesome, man. So back to when you were not comfortable in some of those environments in Tampa, could you identify like what is it about this that's missing? Like why is it that we're not feeling connected to this? What was that?
It felt more to me, I think to both my wife and I, that it was just about being cool. And it was about, fit checks and, who's wearing the most Nike and who's got the new sunglasses and who's talking to the most girls. And I'm like, I'm almost 40 and I'm married. This isn't for me. My wife felt the same way. And so I would find myself just running by myself in a group of 200, 300, 400 people. Um, and it didn't feel like they wanted us there other than for the photo and for the ability to get our data, honestly. It was more so like, wow, look at these numbers. Um, how can we sell this to Nike?
Mm. And then you're thinking about the culture of what you want to build, and you're like, I don't want to focus this on just dating. I think it's kind of a byproduct of run clubs is that there is a component of like sexual
For
tension of like
sure.
I'm going to be here. There's going to be other attractive people. There might be some exchanges. We have mutual interests. What within the culture of when you're creating it? What do you think you did that allowed it to be more welcoming or more at least more aligned to what you were looking for?
I think the thing that we did early on was just we invited everybody and we made everybody feel like they could join even if they weren't runners. So we started, a walk portion of the run. So walk 2K, run 5, and people basically give people no excuse, unless they're working or they're not in town. Like, oh, I don't run. Oh, that's fun. Fine, just come for the walk. Why don't walk? That's fine. Just come for the tacos. Why don't I'm a vegetarian? Well, that's fine. Come for the juice. Like always giving them something to join the community with. And and that's as we've grown, like our events are not just runs, we turn them into big parties. And that's kind of been the goal is to just how can we keep people together, doing life together in the most exciting way possible and for free.
And so it sounds like what I'm interpreting is like the programming that's available makes it accessible to like a bunch of different
Hmm.
people.
Yeah.
Um, was it like that all from the beginning, or did the programming develop over time? There's like, oh, let's add this, let's kind of bring this in, and how did you see the shift of the change of like from the first one to like, okay, now we're going to incorporate this little piece and this going to be part of it. What did you notice around that?
Yeah, it's interesting how the run club has changed because we didn't know how it was going to flow. We started meeting at a corner here in one of the popular neighborhoods, and then very quickly it became a bit unsafe because we didn't have any protection. We were just standing in the middle of a roundabout. Um, and then there was also, it was literally a 7-Eleven. So there was nowhere to hydrate after, there was nowhere to sit, there was nowhere to eat. Um, so we started with a partner that had a restaurant and that was going well. And then they decided that they didn't want to, especially in low season, cover the costs for having everybody every week. And so we decided in the first week of July that we were going to take the Run Club on tour. And that's kind of what just like opened the floodgates. We had 2 or 3 different parties set with local partners. And then I think the second week we had, like probably 10 venues reach out. And I think our list right now is like 40 venues that are trying to host us. So now for us, it's all about creating that experience and trying to like make it better than the last one. But
Mm. And what are the components of the experience that the venues see a ton of value in? Obviously, there's a bunch of people, but it almost seems like you got to get them aligned with the vision of like, hey, like this is the vibe of it. And I've noticed, at least for us, we've run into the same issue of venues like, it's Sunday, it's a day of rest in this country. We don't want to support 200 people in our restaurant with the minimum labor that we have available. So it's not always easy. And the route that we run ends in a place where there's not that many restaurants that can host that many anyway. So how have you, I think there's maybe an infrastructure piece where there's enough restaurants that can do that, but then how do you articulate the value to them, or how are you choosing criteria wise which ones to partner with?
so immediately now we have requirements. You basically have to provide hydration and fruit for all the runners. And then we have a fee that they have to pay that would basically covers our costs because we bring the DJ, we bring the photographer, we bring obviously us, our team. We do a bunch of promotion throughout the week on social. I think that now the people in Tulum see the value. We're getting almost 1 million impressions every month just on Instagram, and they're seeing the crowds. And we're doing 2 runs a week super consistently. So 300, 400 people, and we're also doing that at large venues that are well known, like the Pai Pai and Azurlik. And so naturally, the word's getting out, and it's created a lot of buzz here. So we don't really have to prove ourselves right now. It's more so like, can you accommodate what we're looking for? You know, we also like the club likes to party hard. So even the one night a couple of weeks ago, it poured down rain, and they all just started dancing for an hour in the rain, pouring down rain with the DJ, and just drinking beers and dancing on palm trees, and any excuse to have a good time. But yeah,
And so in those negotiations, um, in your prioritization of these venues, sounds like you've got some criteria here. Why don't you take us through like what is a normal? You got two days a week. Are there differentiations between these? How did you decide the programming? What does a normal one of those each days look like?
we started running at 5 p.m. the first month or two on Wednesday nights, and soon found that people couldn't get there because of work, and it was a little bit difficult. So we moved it to 6, and we doubled up just with that change. And then I think like in May we said let's do a once a month party on a Saturday. We'll make it like a run party. And so we partnered with that first restaurant, and we had I don't know, ice baths, tattoo artist, DJ, discounts on food, and I think they maybe provided a wellness shot or something. And a lot of people came out like, wow, this is, I think it was double what we were getting at the Run Club. It's like, this is really cool, and this could be, this could be something. And then I realized that people that were traveling or that were coming in and out of town couldn't come to the Wednesdays, or they were only here for a weekend. And so they were completely missing the opportunity to come to Run Club. So I was like, we should do it every Wednesday and Saturday. So in August, we decided to do both. So Wednesdays and Saturdays launched then, and it's just kind of taken off since then. And now we even do pop-ups where we do like a 7:30 a.m. We call it a coffee run with like a coffee shop, and we don't promote it until 12 hours before. So it's almost like a little bit of a mob. So we did one on
Right.
Tuesday with a local bakery, and we got like 45 people, and we didn't promote it until, like I said, like 12 hours beforehand.
So let's get into the strategy around this and like where you see all this going. So
Mhm.
there was originally like this once a month party, and now is it still a party every Saturday, or it's just a run and then the party's once?
It's a party every Wednesday and Saturday.
Okay,
So
okay, gotcha.
we bring a DJ and ice baths and recovery to every event now, Wednesdays and
Wow, okay.
Saturdays. Wednesdays are a little bit, there are more people actually on Wednesdays, but they're probably an hour shorter. And then Saturdays depends on the partner, but it could go from 9 a.m. until 3 or 4. Sometimes it goes till 1. And oftentimes we do like pool parties and stuff like that with venues that have the pools.
And and so I think there's two pieces there I'm super interested in. One is like the
Yep.
operations of that. And then two, there's the financial piece of that. So maybe we touch on each of those, starting with the operational components. Like, what have you learned operationally through this? You're obviously you're an entrepreneur, you've got a business background. So I don't know if you're an operator in the past or more of a visionary or how you classify yourself, but what's it like operationally to do this many events that seem to have some scale? Because the number of people, the DJ, the partners, how are you managing all that?
Yeah, I do the operations, but I don't enjoy it. My wife is much better in that regard. I'm more the visionary and the creative. Um, but we've found good people, and what I'm learning, I learned in my previous life, but also especially now, I'm finding the right people to just lead certain sectors. I don't need to control all of it. So our DJ, for example, just took on the responsibility of managing basically all of the entertainment. So if it's going to be 4 hours and we need three different DJs, she's going to handle it. She's going to work with the venue to make sure they have the right equipment. She's going to work with the DJs and see what they need. And so all we have to do, my wife and I, is basically manage her in that process. So same goes for any different thing. We've got the recovery stuff handled with a partner. We've got some vendors that we can work with um, easily. It's just trying to delegate, honestly.
Yeah, and it's great when you can find those people who are already part of the community and already love what you're doing. They show up every week, and we've built out a volunteer team on our side of about 15 people across the different brands that we have, the wellness brands. And yeah, I've noticed the ability to bring community and scale that is really dependent on how well you can incorporate people from the community who already want to help you and already believe in what you're doing and already have, a similar vision. And they're just so willing to like get their hands dirty. It was always surprising to me that people would volunteer time. Now it sounds like on your end, there's a financial component where, you have costs each time that are associated, whether it's the DJ, certain things that you're paying for. Is this something that generates a profit now? Is it something that you see bigger monetization past? Like, how do you look at the financials of the community
Yeah.
itself?
I mean, I would say it's profitable if you don't consider our time. If we're paying ourselves a decent wage and counting our hours, we're definitely break even. But from a raw expenses point, we're definitely in the black. So it's good now. I think that it's got a lot more opportunity, and I'm working through what that looks like. We're bringing on sponsors, monthly sponsors, individual event sponsors that are outside of the venues. Um, and the larger we get, obviously, you know this from your club as well. The larger you get, the more desirable you are to outside sponsors. And so that's kind of the phase we're in now.
And tell me about that strategy. So, um, what is the outreach strategy? What's the inbound strategy? You obviously have content. I've seen a bunch of cool stuff that you guys do. How do you manage that process? And that sounds like it's probably falling on you, I would imagine.
Yeah. It's funny. It's a good question because I've been working on this sponsorship deck for like the last 6 weeks that I can't finish. And so I get a partner that has a question about something, and I just put 5 pages together and send it to him because it's ever changing and I just don't have time for it. So I would say that's probably one of the areas where we need the most help. We've kind of gotten the volunteers to help on the ground, but from a vision and outreach, doing very literally no outreach right now. We're just fielding intakes, and I'm sure you experience this too. When you're at the event, it's probably just 2 or 3 hours of conversations with people that are interested in talking to you about something,
Mhm.
which we love, but it's hard to manage. It's hard to put them into their different silos, and it's socially draining. So especially, we're doing it every Wednesday and Saturday. By the time the next one comes around, I'm just finally getting recharged from the last one.
Yeah, yeah. And that's I think the frequency of what you're doing is
Mhm.
is admirable because it's like I know how much it takes out of us to do the events that we're doing. What do you see as like the big ROI of all this? Like because I know that there's heart in it, right? And I think
Mhm.
there becomes a portion. I don't know when this is. It's probably different for everybody, but it's like, what am I actually getting out of this? Because I'm putting a lot in, and whether it's financially, whether it's opportunity, something's got to come back at some point. And how are you evaluating the success of all this and where you want it to go?
Yeah. I think for me, the ROI immediately is just my sanity. I kind of needed this in this season of my life. And so to be in a place where I feel connected and we feel connected to something that's bigger, that's the first most important thing. It's not about the money, but also financially and just community wise, it's allowing us to do other projects. So we're in the process of building 3 or 4 other large scale things at the same time here that aren't public yet that are all going to feed each other like an ecosystem. And
Yeah.
so there's nothing more powerful that we have here than the community. You can literally just do anything.
And I think that's so funny because that's why, well, in my LinkedIn and when I updated my job role to wellness founders and really wanted to commit to this brand, I called it the chief ecosystem architect. And the
Oh,
way that I
cool.
was thinking about it was, man, there's this ecosystem of events, this community, and that's really what a lot of brands are missing. They're missing the community element. They're missing the actual desire that people have to like, I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to be loyal to this. My people are here. I have a sense of belonging, a sense of identity. And when you can create that and you can almost architect it from a higher level and just say, I've got this ecosystem and I can see and predict where it is that the demand is going and start to either create the products, the services, or the partnerships that bring that full circle, bring benefits to the audience, and also bring benefits to these other brands, bring benefits to these other people. So it sounds like that's a space that you're in right now.
Definitely. I'm also like a firm believer, and since day one, we've tried to keep everything free. And I'm a firm believer, at least here, that everything should be accessible to people for free. There's enough venues and enough businesses that are making money off tourism and off of the expats and things that they should be funding everybody's ability to stay fit. And so
Yeah.
we should have free gyms, we should have free classes, we should have free runs, we should be taking care of our people. And so that's my initiative primarily
Yeah.
now.
We're in agreement with that. And I think our commitment from the beginning of the Run Club was how do we create something at the top of this ecosystem that is fully accessible to every level of person. I want to walk, I want to run, I want to hang, I want to eat brunch, whatever it is. And I can just come and be there. And there's not this expectation that you're going to extract something from me. And maybe that's what you were speaking to earlier about, some of the other ones that you might have went to
Mhm.
where you're like, I'm here, but I feel like I'm here because there's something to get from me rather than I'm here because these are my people and we're all aligned to health and we're all aligned to this. And you can create that win-win-win where the brands win by getting exposure and people opting in to work with that brand to buy their product, whatever it is. You can get a win for the restaurant for bringing a ton of different people in exposure. You can get a win for the attendee who can come for free.
Mhm.
And I truly think there's win-win-win potential with these types of communities. And I'm curious on your end, like, what do you see as like the highest priorities in your matrix? So I'll give you an example for us, like content is always at the top of the aesthetics. Obviously the experience is a prerequisite, like an experience that people want to come back to. They feel like they have to come back. But what's interesting is the content drives a lot of that for us because it drives the FOMO, it drives the exposure, it drives the value to brands and sponsors. I'm curious like how you look at what's most important to the sustainability long term of what you're doing.
I think sustainability wise, content is important, but for me, it's the vibe, right? So the heartbeat of the club, especially as we grow, naturally in any community, it's going to change. And so if you're not familiar with Tulum, for example, we'll get 1.5 million people here in the next 3 months. And so the run club's probably going to go from 150 to 350. And so how do we keep the vibe, the pulse, the community, the tight people who are here all summer from, the outsiders allowing them to change us? So I think for me, the most important thing is keeping the vibes the same way as we grow, which is almost impossible. But content is definitely important. People are interacting with us all over the world. Same with you, and especially places like Medellin and Tulum where people want to visit. They're actively on, the devices trying to search what's going on. And so we had a guy yesterday. He was the first one at Run Club, but I don't know, half an hour beforehand, he said, I just got off the plane at 4. I came from Orange County by myself. Like I came right to Run Club. I dropped my suitcase off. We have people that come here and spend a week here and come to 2 runs and decide to move here. We've kept people here that wanted to leave. It's been a really cool experience. And so for me, that's the priority, keeping that vibe so that people feel like this is their family, their home.
Yeah, and go back to the vibe. Like, how do you keep the vibe? I know you said it's practically impossible, but like, what are
It's
the
hard, man.
practical things that you might do?
So we make it a point to be uh, inclusive and like, I'm going to go say hi to everybody, even if I like, especially if I don't recognize you. Dude, welcome to Run Club. I'm Tony. This is my wife, Elle. It's actually Mexican tradition. We didn't know this. We found out from one of our volunteers that at weddings, they have designated people that are the ones that are responsible for the vibes. So now we, like in high season, we're going to have like six of them. They're going to have little captain sleeves on, and their only job is to make sure that everybody feels a part of the community. So, like, if you see a new
Yeah.
face, if you see somebody on the outskirts that doesn't look like they know what they're doing, go talk to them, bring them in. The last thing I say, I get up on a ladder and talk so they can hear me. The last thing I say is like, make some new friends, hang out, get to know each other. Like, that's the most important, because what's really unique, especially here and the way that Tulum is, everybody's always generally like thinking about how cool they look. They're all going to beach parties and stuff. Like at Run Club, they're just not. Nobody cares. Nobody. There's no judgment, and it's a very unique experience being in the middle of all the other chaos here, because they come here and they just feel super comfortable being themselves. They can get sweaty. They can jump in the pool. They can have no makeup on, and everybody just accepts them.
Yeah. Yeah. What we've experienced from designing social wellness, social fitness environments here is that there always has to be someone responsible for the hospitality part of anything. So having volunteers who have an SOP, who have a system that when someone comes up, they get this bracelet, they get an explanation. We know if they're new, they get a certain color bracelet, they get a conversation about how everything works, they get welcomed, they get introduced to somebody else that the greeter might also know. And that's been a great part of our volunteer teams, is that they step up and they're like, I want to do this. We'll have 5 or 6 people at all the entrances to kind of facilitate that. And then at our bigger wellness experiences like Sweat and Chill, there's people that are basically like the social crew, and their responsibility is to start dance parties.
Yeah, I
It's
love that.
like your thing is to start the dance party, is to have the bubble gun, is to hand out the wellness shots, whatever it might be. And I think there's something to be said about experiential design to that micro level of when someone comes, how is it that they're greeted? What's the very first thing that they experience, especially if it's their first time? And then as the event goes on and there's a crescendo in the experience, where is it you're lifting people back up into
Hmm.
a moment where like that becomes a staple of that memory of like, and then subconsciously, it's like, I'm going to come back to that place. And I don't even know why, but it's because of the vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
It's the
And it's like
vibes.
it's a fine line too, though, because you don't want to impose too much on them. I want them to just feel open to do what they want. And so you're just learning as you go, like trying to flow through each event, because once you start restricting and everything becomes a little bit more, um, I don't know, in a box,
Yeah.
you lose that vibe.
100%. It can feel too structured, too controlled. And like
Hmm.
this is why we do a choose your own adventure at our Sweat and Chills. So like that event is designed as a choose your own adventure. There is programming, but after the workout, every part of the event is open. And it's just do what you want. There's ice baths over here. There's a little connection game over here. There's a pull-up competition over here. There's the sponsored area. There's the massages. There's the pool on this side, the sauna on this side, the food, the drinks, and it's like, you do what you want. We'll come in and check in on you, and we'll come and say, hey, how's it going? Maybe do some content with a person who feels like they wanna be in something. People love to be in pictures. People love to be in
I
videos
love it.
and capture those moments. But there is something about it being too contrived. There is something about it feeling too mechanical, and there is something about giving people the choice to like have their own experience. And I think there is a line there that is good to like be right on.
Yeah, yeah. We do the same thing. Everything's available. Do what you want. And the people that are running those, we fully trust to guide you through that experience.
Yeah. So I want to go into the content process for you guys and how you choose the types of content that you do, and you do a lot of collaborations, and I love that because that seems to be a big lever for your growth. How is it that you're scheduling out like the content process? How is it that you're going about getting ideas? And yeah, if it's I love it when you laugh because I think I know what your answer is, but I'm curious how you think about it now, and where's the ideal place that you want to take it in the future?
Yeah, the idea right now for social is like, how do we just keep up, essentially? Because even we have this like, we have the best photographer ever, but it's always very difficult to get the photos from her because we do so many events. And my wife actually just started a female only run club on Mondays here. So we've got Monday, Wednesdays, and Saturdays. And so it also the hype changes so quickly that if I wait more than 2 days to post the photos or the videos, nobody cares about them anymore. And so it's just an ever evolving trying to keep up with. But we have like when we announce a new venue, because we always change venues, we have the exact same intro every time now. It's like our bread and butter. We go and we film. It takes us 20 minutes. Oftentimes when we negotiate, we film the same day, like we just filmed for next weekend today. And then we do a bunch of B-roll. And so that goes. So our Wednesday run promos go out on Sunday. That's the goal, Sunday nights. And then we use the next 2 days to kind of promote those. And we also try to take the venue. So we did one at a rooftop hotel, and we took all the furniture out of the hotel, and we invited like 50 people, and we ran through the hallways and did a photo shoot. And so it looked like, you know, very cool, unexpected. Like, what are they doing running through a hotel? Coming out of the elevator and all doing cool stuff. So what we try to do is we try to take our venues, and that's what gives us the inspo for our content. We did a run at Papaya Playa. If you're not familiar with Papaya Playa here, they throw the big events on the beach. Um, and so we did face painting with neon, and then we had the Mayan warriors. And so it was a warrior run. And so everybody painted their faces. And at sunset, we all went out and had fire and, just kind of hyped up, almost like we didn't do stretches. We just did like a Mayan routine. So the content, like we're always ever changing in our creation, but we're letting the venues and the different events kind of tailor make the content.
And is there a process to brainstorming that with them, or you guys are just ideating in that moment? You're like, this is what we're going to do. And
Yeah,
it's like whatever
primarily just
happens.
me and my wife, and then we have people that obviously bring us ideas. And back to your point about the guy starting the dances, we have a head of entertainment. One of our buddies is like the guy that just is crazy. So he's in a bunch of our promo videos, just doing goofy stuff. And
Nice.
so we also don't take ourselves very seriously. Like it's a serious club, but it's really not. And so we're gonna have fun doing it, and we're gonna look stupid, and we're gonna dance, and we're gonna, have grease on our face, and it just seems to resonate more with people.
Yeah. I get really excited about the conversation around past entrepreneurship and how it impacts how you view this. And I know that we've touched on this a few times. This is from the heart. It's not for money. But like, it sounds like you guys are building a couple other ancillary things that maybe can't be said yet. Um, but tell me about the entrepreneurial vision of like what this community provides you as far as opportunities in the future, where you're bullish. And this is maybe more of an industry observation, because I think a lot of people that are building run clubs maybe don't have the breadth of entrepreneurial experience to see the opportunities that are right in front of their face. And what are you seeing, and what are you excited about?
I think the thing that excites me is connecting everybody. Tulum is a city that's still trying to figure itself out. It's kind of becoming a city. It's not like even Medellin or Playa for sure. It's still trying to determine what it is. And so for years, the fitness community and the wellness community has kind of just been parted out, right? And nobody's really connected. And oftentimes what has bothered me since the beginning is that it's more of a competition. And so the opportunity I see is to connect everybody and build the ecosystem where everybody has equal availability to things, and it doesn't feel competitive. It feels inviting and nurturing, and like I'm going to go to Tulum not only to heal, but like to get plugged into the fitness community because I know that that's a place to go, and that everybody's going to be connected and inviting. Um, and the community is allowing us to build that ecosystem. Whether it be cycling or walking or literally anything. They're already in our ecosystem. We can just plug them into anybody else that we want.
Are there any of those projects you can talk about now, or are you keeping them really under wraps?
Uh, I can talk about one. Yeah, so we're launching a publication, a magazine, and it's basically it's going to be in print and it's going to be digital. And to that point, it's like, dude, everybody's been so disconnected, and there's never been a fitness or wellness cohesive brand that's brought everybody together. So we're going to highlight the things that are going on monthly in the print form, and then we're also going to have a team that's on the ground and curating monthly and dailies and weeklies so that people like, and it's not just like a free for all, like these are the 75 yogas going on. It's like these are the 5 best ones of the week, by our editorial team because we're in the community, we're fitness focused, and we know. And so, especially if you're visiting, you don't waste your time anywhere else, and you just go right to the source of the best ones.
Yeah. I see media distribution as such a huge lever right now in wellness. And it's exactly why I created this podcast, because I knew, like, I can see where this is going
Hmm.
and have complete, utter confidence that the wellness industry is going to be one of the biggest industries, not the biggest industry, most important industry, with technology right alongside of it, giving us more insights to our health, giving us more insights to longevity, but also creating the need for the connection that's on the other side of using too much technology. And so the bullishness that I have about it comes into form with media distribution and owning a distribution channel like a podcast, like a newsletter, and knowing that if I invest in these relationships and I invest in featuring the types of things, just like you may do in a publication or an online piece that focuses on the wellness events in a certain area, I know that the good things will happen. I know that, like, pushing forward the industry as a whole creates an environment where there is more collaboration, and ultimately, what's the most important is that people are healing and people are fit and people feel good in their bodies.
For
And
sure.
it's such an incredible thing when you can, get into featuring other people that are doing amazing things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's coming for a circle because people are so much on their devices, and there was such a long period where people weren't in real life, you know, and it's been so long since you had real magazines. Like when we were growing up, that's all you had. And so I feel like it's coming full circle. People want to be outside, they want to be off their devices, they want something tangible. And so connecting the two it's the right time.
Yeah, there's something nice about analog.
Yeah.
Analog something, right? It's like
And these
there's
young kids never experienced it.
yeah.
Like I don't know how old you are, but I'm almost 41. Like they don't have any idea what we grew up with.
Yeah. Yeah, I turned 35 actually 2 days ago, so it was my birthday a couple days ago. As
Happy birthday.
yeah, thanks, man. It was a great birthday, and yeah, it was a reflection point for me about obviously how far I've come in my own wellness journey and different things. But there's that reminder of, like, oh man, like, I was a kid once, and there was a world that wasn't so focused on technology and AI and where all these things are going. And I miss parts of that world. I think the pendulum always swings. The pendulum will always come back to the human-centered version of us that is ancestral, that is a natural desire of connection, of being in earth, being in nature, moving our bodies, and things like that will never go away until they start implanting the chips, which I think it's already started
It's
happening.
coming soon.
Yeah,
Coming soon.
if it's not already happened completely, yeah, it's going to be happening. I watched some of those Black Mirror episodes. I'm like, oh, this is a preview of where the society
Yeah,
is going.
exactly. It's just the future.
So tell me about The Office. How did The Office come about? And this is an office for all of your ventures
Mhm.
in one, and like, it sounds like there's a need for a space because you have so many things going on operationally. Do you have like a whole team coming in there, or it's just for you and your wife, or like how are you guys doing that?
It'll be for the team. It's also like we have a ladder. We did a giant piece of art that just these things have nowhere to go, right? Signage and things like that. And as we grow, it's like I can't put them anymore in my apartment. And then we're having a lot of meetings and we're running all around town, and it's just easier to have people come to you. And then we're using it for the magazine. We're using it for, like I said, 3 or 4 other projects. So now our people have a place to go, and we can have recap meetings and things where we're not just sitting in public at coffee shops. And the good thing is we're doing it's a perfect venue for a run. It's a we can have 1,000 people in this venue. It's super secluded and it's really cool vibes. We can activate. It's got like 17 shops, so we activate all of them. And then the route is super simple. So as we grow, we can do 1 or 2 a month there and feel like we're safe. When the potential of a venue falling through, for example, we have to hurry around trying to find something. Now we just do it at our house, which is our office.
Yeah, it's been the one thing I think we've been missing is a piece of real estate or a piece where
Hmm.
we could put our pin down and say, hey, this is where we are, because the three partners that are in our wellness businesses are all over the city. And there is a central point that we meet that's good, but it really does depend on the infrastructure of the city too. And it sounds like you guys have a lot of places that are super excited about doing it. I think there is some benefit to being in like a little jungle town like that, where you've got some of these really cool spaces that are excited. There's high season, low season. So like in the low
Hmm.
season, there's nobody there. We've noticed, at least in Medellin, there's been some infrastructural challenges, even though it's a city that's been around for a lot longer and is a lot more established. There's still those challenges of like having enough venues and places that can actually fit what we're doing and are actually on board. They're aligned. They understand.
Hmm.
Hopefully
Well,
hopefully it gets better
and
for
then
us.
having the route too.
Yeah,
Then you got to
the
find a
routes.
secure route that's not too trafficked.
Well, and that's been lucky for us is there's ciclovia on Sundays, so they shut down the roads on Sundays, part of the roads, for the exact thing of like families, people coming out to run, to walk their dogs. They've got a bunch of vendors on the, street vendors, and it happens every Sunday. So that's why we
I
chose
love that.
Sunday. And I think there's a lot of strategic decisions you make as you go along creating these types of communities where, the environment, the infrastructure, the decisions you make are kind of dependent on what you have available to you, and you do your
For
best,
sure.
see what happens, iterate along the
Yeah.
process.
Yep.
It sounds like you guys
Implement
have
and
done that a
adapt.
lot.
For sure.
So last thing, Tony, is what's Tony's legacy in the wellness industry? What's the movement that Tony's going to be known for creating in this world?
It's interesting. I don't care about it, but I think it's just helping people better themselves. I got our other brand, which we didn't talk about, is Worship Yourself, and that's kind of like our parent company. And I got
Mm,
it tattooed right here. It's like what I like the I don't know fourth tattoo I got after I moved, and it's like, dude, this is what I'm gonna live by, right? And how can I help other people do the same? Like prioritize you, because so many people are depressed and not happy and searching, and just, dude, doesn't matter what people think, doesn't matter what people expect of you. You got to find your true happiness, meaning, whatever it is. And so my hope is that my legacy in that regard is supporting that lifestyle choice.
and in Worship Yourself, which from what I've seen about it, it's coaching. You're talking a lot about the physical, mental, spiritual side of fitness, nutrition, mindset work. How does that fit into all these things, and what's the overlap that naturally occurs with these other projects?
Yeah, so Worship Yourself is kind of evolving. We don't know what it is. We just can feel it. And so, like, what started as like, my wife teaches yoga. She's teaching yoga. I'm teaching HIIT or functional. And then it's like, well, no, it's more spiritual. It's more everything. It's just a lifestyle. It's a brand. And so we're just kind of letting that portion evolve. It's our parent company, so we're running everything through it. But Worship Yourself is just evolving, and we kind of tell our personal story through that brand.
Yeah. It's really powerful, man. I'm loving all the things that you're doing. I'll be in Playa to check out an apartment that should be done by
Nice.
then.
You got to come down.
We've been in construction for a few years now, and we should have it by the end of the month, finally, which is going to be awesome to really, I've got my residency in Mexico, but to actually have a home there that I can go back to every time that I go back is exciting. So I'll be there for a week in Playa, and I think I'm going to have to come down to
Yeah,
Tulum, it
come with
sounds
Rob.
like.
Rob was just
Yeah,
down here like 2 weeks ago.
I will pull a leg on Rob. And what are the days again? Remind us what days we got
Wednesday nights, Saturday mornings.
perfect. And I'm hoping that there's well, it sounds like there's a party every time. So
There's a party
I'm
every
hoping
time.
there's a raining dance party with warrior paint when I'm there.
Yes,
But
we'll
um,
create one for you.
awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on. Have a
Likewise,
great
man.
rest of
Appreciate
your
having me.
week. I'm looking forward to it. Take care.
Yes, likewise. Take care.